All right, let's dive into a real geopolitical riddle, one that honestly keeps a lot of people scratching their heads. Turkey. Its foreign policy can feel like a complete maze of contradictions, a puzzle that just seems impossible to solve. So today, let's see if we can piece it together.
And this right here is the heart of the puzzle. How can a country be a cornerstone of NATO, the Western military alliance, and at the very same time be one of the most important partners for Russia, NATO's #1 rival? How does that even work? To figure it out, we've got to understand what makes Turkey so unique.
On paper, as a NATO ally, Turkey is all about collective defense. But then you look at what they do. They go and buy the super advanced S-400 missile system from Russia, which makes their allies furious. They become a backdoor for Russia to get around Western sanctions. And for what felt like an eternity, they blocked Sweden and Finland from joining NATO. It really is like they're playing for both teams at the same time.
So where do we even begin to untangle this? Well, our first clue is something that never, ever changes, no matter who's in charge. We have to start with the map, with Turkey's geography.
Just look at where Turkey is. It's not a metaphor. It is literally the bridge connecting Europe and Asia. It has 1 foot in the west and 1 foot in the east, and it borders 3 of the most critical and, let's be honest, often volatile regions on Earth: Europe, the Middle East, and the Caucasus. This incredible position means it can't just pick one side and ignore the others. Its entire security, its entire economy depends on being able to talk to everyone.
And here's the kicker. Turkey controls the Bosphorus and Dardanelles straits. That is the only way for a ship to sail from the Black Sea out into the Mediterranean and the rest of the world. This gives Ankara incredible leverage, especially over Russia. Why? Because Russia's entire Black Sea fleet is basically stuck in a bathtub if Turkey decides to close the door. That geographic fact alone is a permanent, massive source of power. Okay, so geography is huge, for sure, but it's not the whole story, not even close. The next piece of our puzzle isn't on a map. It's buried in Turkey's history. Its modern identity is this constant tug of war between two really powerful, competing ideas of what Turkey should be. So, on one side, you've got the legacy of the Ottoman Empire, this memory of being a vast, imperial Islamic power, the leader of the Muslim world. It's a history of regional dominance. But on the other side, you have the Republic, founded by Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, a republic that was designed to be fiercely secular, nationalist, and laser-focused on modernizing by looking to the West. And this internal conflict, this pull between an imperial Eastern-facing past and a modern Western-facing present, that's what drives so much of its foreign policy whiplash. For decades, especially after joining NATO in 1952, Turkey was a pretty reliable Western ally. But things really started to change in 2002 when Erdogan's party came to power. And that shift went into overdrive after the failed coup in 2016, which led to a massive consolidation of his power. Turkey started to look beyond just its Western alliances and began to lean back into its Ottoman and Islamic heritage.
So you've got this geographic leverage and this historical tug of war. How does that actually look in the real world? Well, there is no better case study on the planet right now than Turkey's response to the war in Ukraine. It is the ultimate balancing act in action.
Okay, let's start with Team Ukraine. Early in the war, those Turkish-made Bayraktar drones were an absolute game-changer for the Ukrainian military. They became this global symbol of resistance, just devastating Russian tank columns. This wasn't some minor contribution. This was critical, life-saving military hardware.
And it's not just about the drones either. Turkey voted at the UN to condemn Russia's invasion. It used its power under the Montreux Convention to shut the straits to most warships, which seriously hampered Russia's ability to beef up its navy in the Black Sea. And it played the crucial role of mediator to get the grain deal done, allowing Ukrainian food to feed the world. Looking at all this, you think, wow, Turkey is a rock-solid ally for Ukraine.
But then you flip the coin. Turkey has very pointedly refused to join any of the Western sanctions against Russia. Its airports and airspace have stayed wide open to Russian flights, giving Russia a vital window to the outside world when most others were slamming shut.
And it's not just talk. Look at the money. While the West was doing everything it could to isolate Russia's economy, trade between Turkey and Russia just exploded. In the year after the invasion, it shot up by almost 50%. Economically, Turkey became one of Russia's most important lifelines. And then there's this number, $28 billion. That is the amount of unexplained, mysterious money that poured into Turkey's central bank in just 8 months of 2022. Now, the official story mentions things like tourism, but a whole lot of analysts are convinced this was Russian cash, looking for a safe haven from sanctions, with Turkey's quiet blessing.
So what is going on here? Is this just confusion, indecisiveness? No way. This isn't chaos. It's a strategy, a very deliberate, calculated approach, and it actually has a name.
Some people call this 4D geopolitics. Think of it as a multidimensional strategy. Instead of seeing the world in black and white and picking a side, it operates in all the gray areas. The goal is to keep good relationships and leverage with everyone, even rivals, so you can maximize your own security, your own interests, your own power. It's not about being indecisive, it's about making yourself indispensable.
So what's the playbook here? It's actually pretty simple when you break it down. Step 1. Make yourself essential to everybody. Sell drones to Ukraine, sell beach holidays to Russians. Step 2. Use your geography as your ultimate bargaining chip all the time. Those straits are everything. Step 3. Jump in as the mediator whenever you can, like with the grain deal, because that gives you international prestige. And Step 4, the golden rule, always put your own country's economic and security needs first, way ahead of rigid loyalty to any single alliance.
Now, this strategy, it's given Turkey a ton of influence on the world stage. But let's be clear, it is incredibly risky. It is a constant high-stakes balancing act on the thinnest of wires. And that really gets to the heart of the risk here. As one analyst perfectly put it, the real question is, to what extent can Turkey balance on this wall? Because, playing all sides is great until it's not. One little misstep, one wrong move, and the whole thing could come crashing down.
And that brings us to the final question I want to leave you with. In a world that seems to be splitting more and more into rigid, competing teams, is Turkey's position on the tightrope a brilliant strategy for survival, or is it actually the most dangerous place you could possibly be when the winds really start to blow?